guys, welcome back. Today's video is going to be my mid-year book tag. I'm so excited to make this video. I wanted to make it a couple of weeks ago and then I realized that I needed to wait a little bit longer because I think that exactly halfway through the year is like around July 2nd. I saw that in, I think, Destiny Sidwell's video, so I'm still like 2 weeks early, but everyone else is starting to put theirs out, so I was like, might as well get around to it. A lot of my questions are not from anyone in particular. They are just a bunch of questions. I think there's like 10 that I've seen everyone do. It's just like a common set of questions. And then I actually took some from Katie Whitbrook. I think that's her name. I love her. She added some of her own questions and I really liked them. So I'm going to be answering those too. So credits to her. I have already kind of like pre-thought out what these books were. Some of them, I don't think I'm gonna have to show you a physical book. Like for example, one is like your favorite author this year. So like some of them aren't all like book related. I mean, they're all book related, but I don't have to like hold up a book for every single one of them. But I do have a stack of books next to me that I'm going to go through that I have already picked out for some of the questions, and then I have my list on my laptop down here, so let's just get right into it. So first of all, I have read 31 books this year. On Goodreads it says that I am 2 books ahead of schedule, so that is perfect, and considering I'm not even halfway through the year yet, I still have 2 more weeks, that's even better. The first real question is the best book that you've read this year, and I definitely think that it's Kingdom of Ash. I feel like this is such a not common answer, but it had to be this, guys. And I honestly feel like I didn't even read this book this year. Like I've just read so many books since then, and this was honestly hard. I'm gonna try to pick one book for each question, but it's literally just not possible for a lot. So I feel like this is overall one of my favorites, but I just don't know if I have like one singular one, but this is definitely one of them. This book was just literally chef's kiss, and it all came together perfectly and ended this story perfectly, and I just loved it so much. The next one is the best sequel that you've read this year, and I honestly had to look this up because I was like, is a sequel just a second book in a series that like only has 2 books in it, or can a sequel be anything that's like following the first book? And I'm pretty sure when I looked it up, a sequel is technically just anything that builds upon something that came beforehand. So it could be the 3rd, 4th, 5th book, but I decided to keep it simple and I went with Ruthless Vows, which was the sequel to Divine Rivals. I absolutely adore that series, and the second book, I honestly don't remember what rating I gave the second book, but it was so good and I ate it up, and that book made me cry, and that series is so good. The next one is new releases that you haven't read yet but want to. Guys, I still have not read Funny Story by Emily Henry, and also Just for the Summer by, I think, Abby Jimenez. I have not read either of those. Don't know why. Literally don't know why. I've heard that they are both amazing books, and I need to get my hands on them. I really do, and I honestly don't have an explanation for why I haven't. I just feel like I also have so many other books I want to read, and I'm really missing fantasy right now, so that's kind of my priority, which is kind of tied in with another question, which we'll get to, but those are definitely 2 books I still need to read. The next one is the release that you're most excited for the rest of the year, like your most anticipated release. And I think it's honestly, this one's kind of weird because I actually haven't finished the books that come before this, but the Caraval series, there is a novella called Spectacular coming out in, honestly I cannot remember what month. I think it's like September or October. Don't hold me to my word on that. It's somewhere in the fall, and I just loved the first book so much that I am just so excited to finish the series. And I know that once I finish, which I think the next one's like Legendary, and then there's Finale, I think that's how it is, and then comes the novella Spectacular, which maybe that's not fair because it's a novella. I also know that the book, what is it called? The sequel to Better Than the Movies is coming out. I don't remember off the top of my head what that book is called, but that one's gonna be really good too. But yeah, honestly, I'm like randomly really excited for Spectacular, even though I haven't finished the 2 books before it. The next one is Biggest Surprise. I am actually going to give you 2 books for this one because I feel like there's 2 different ways to interpret this. So the first one is Biggest Surprise, as in like what book had the biggest surprise in it, and it was definitely, so I think that House of Sky and Breath had the biggest surprise for me. If you know, you know, and I'm literally not ruining it because it is such a crazy surprise. But the last chapter, I think it might be the epilogue in this book, was insane. I literally went back and reread the last chapter in this book for days afterwards. Like every day I was rereading it because I just could not wipe the smile off my face, and I just like, I kind of teared up a bit. Like this was such a good surprise, and I feel like a lot of people have already read this, so like you probably know, but I'm not going to spoil it for the people that haven't. But this book was just phenomenal. But I feel like you could also interpret biggest surprise by like which book surprised you the most, as in like you liked it because you didn't think you were gonna like it. Honestly, every book I've read this year, I don't think I've had that to where like I went in not thinking I was gonna like it and then did. I haven't really had that happen this year yet, but I did reread Beach Read, which if you haven't seen that video, you should go watch it. I reread Emily Henry books. When I read this book last year, I gave it 3 stars. I reread it to see if I liked it again, and I gave it 4 stars. So this book definitely, I was surprised that it got a higher rating. And I'm honestly just really happy that I reread this because now I have a better, like, what's the word? I'm happy that I can perceive this in like a new light and like a better light, if that makes sense. The next one is favorite new author, and I definitely think it's Krista and Becca Ritchie. They are the ones that wrote the entire Addicted Calloway Sisters series, and that series has just like taken over my life this year. And so I honestly think that that's probably my new favorite authors, which maybe that's not fair because it's 2 sisters and that's 2 authors, but we're gonna combine them. The next one is your newest fictional crush. I think that it's honestly Ethan from the Unhoneymooners, which is literally the last book that I finished. He's not even like my biggest main character crush, like my biggest boy crush from like recent, well, I guess, yeah, from recent books, but he's not my biggest like crush this year, if that makes sense. Honestly, now that I'm thinking about that, question's a little weird because it says recent, but like 2024 was 6 months ago, so like what if I read a book from that long ago? If we're going from all of 2024, not just like recent, it's gonna be someone from Throne of Glass, so like Rowan or Dorian or like Lorcan even, honestly. I don't know, I feel like you could interpret that in a few ways too. The next one is a book that made you cry, and honestly, Kingdom of Ash made me cry so many tears. A lot of books made me cry a lot, so I honestly can't pick one for this, even though I said I was going to try to pick one for each one. But Kingdom of Ash and Long Way Down, which was in the Calloway Sisters series, it wasn't even the last book in the series, it was the second to last, but I honestly cried more in the second to last book. So yeah, Long Way Down and Kingdom of Ash were just 2 of many books that made me cry this year. The next one is a book that made you happy, and I'm going to say Some Kind of Perfect, which was the last book in the Addicted Calloway Sisters series. Just that book, I didn't cry as much like I just said, but the way that it ended just like felt so good to me. The way that everything came together, I was like honestly happy about it because all of their lives, they'd gone through so much together, and they just came out on top in the end, and it like made my heart really happy, even though it was the last book and I was still really sad. But yeah, I'd have to say that. So this one's another one. It's the most beautiful book that you've received this year. I'm gonna take this as the cover, like what's the most beautiful cover, and I am honestly a fan of Tower of Dawn. This cover is absolutely gorgeous, like the oranges and the yellows, and just, I seriously think this is one of the most beautiful covers I've ever seen in my life, and I honestly want to like display this one to where it faces like out of my bookshelf, but I don't have enough room with how my layout is. So I'm kind of sad about that, and I may have to do that in the future if I get a bigger bookshelf. But yeah, this is just gorgeous. The next one is books you need to read by the end of the year. How am I supposed to answer this in like 1 or 2 books? Because there's so many. I have a list on my phone of so many books, like dozens and dozens and dozens. So that's not fair to just say 1 or 2, but I definitely need to still read House of Flame and Shadow, and then I also really want to read the Shatter Me series before the end of the year. I've wanted to read that series for so long, and I think I'm just honestly scared because, am I wrong, or is the Shatter Me series like YA? I don't know if it is or not. I feel like in my head I think it is, but I don't know if it actually is. But either way, I really want to read the Shatter Me series, and I know there's like a bazillion books in that, so might need to get started on that. But those are just 2 of like so many books I need to read. The next one is books you want to reread this year, and I don't know, honestly, there's not many books that I'm looking at my bookshelf over here, if that's where y'all see me looking. I'd love to reread the ACOTAR series, but I'm gonna try to wait until Sarah J Maas announces the next book in that series. So, I mean, honestly, fingers crossed that she announces it before the end of the year so then I can start rereading that series before the end of the year. But there's none that I'm like dying to reread. I'd rather read new books and find more ones that I like. So, honestly, I'm just gonna stick with ACOTAR, but maybe not even that. I don't know if I'm like dying to reread any more books right now. The next one is books you've been putting off reading, and I already answered this book, or I already said this book in a different question, but House of Flame and Shadow. It's the last book currently out in the Crescent City series, and I don't know, I don't want to finish the last book, because once I finish that, I'll have no more Sarah J Maas books to read, and then I'll literally just be waiting on like the next ones, and I just like don't want to finish that yet. So yeah, House of Flame and Shadow. The next one is a book you enjoyed with mixed reviews. This might be the hardest question because I went through Goodreads and looked at like literally almost every book that I just even thought might have mixed reviews. And let's be honest, every single book that you read is gonna have mixed reviews. Some people are gonna love it, some people are gonna hate it, but I tried to find one that like actually had mixed reviews. And I think that this one, Kismet, it's not a very well-known book. It's just like not a very mainstream book. I have not seen a lot of people talk about this book. And it had like a 3.5 rating on Goodreads, which is definitely lower than a lot of books on my bookshelf. So definitely Kismet, which I would recommend. It's cute. It's not the best. I think I even rated it like 3 or 3.5 stars, but it's definitely a cute summer beachy read. It's basically just like a beachy wedding summer vibe on an island. The next one is series that you want to finish before the end of the year. I feel like a lot of these questions are kind of like repeats, but I want to finish the Caraval series. I have to finish that before the next book comes out. I also want to finish the Twisted series. I think that's what it's called. I've only read Twisted, is it Love? Yeah, I've only read Twisted Love, which is the first book, and I think there's like 3 or 4 more books, so I want to finish that. What other books am I like in the middle of? I want to finish the Good Girls Guide to Murder series. I have 1 more book in that series. I feel like I'm honestly in the middle of a lot of books and I just cannot think of them off the top of my head. I'm trying to look. The Housemaid series, there's like 2 or 3 more books in that. I'm in the middle of a lot of series that I need to finish. The next one is 5-star predictions for the rest of the year. This one, I feel like I can't even answer. I genuinely don't know. Books are so... I just can't see myself trying to guess when I don't even like haven't read the book yet or like know much about it. I seriously don't know. I'm trying to think. I would want to think that House of Flame and Shadow would be a 5 stars, but I've heard that one has mixed reviews. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like that one's hard. I'm not good at like predicting things, if that makes any sense. I'm just like, I don't know. The next one is, do you think you'll reach your reading goal? And I definitely think I will. I think that my goal is like 65 books. Honestly, I don't know off the top of my head. I will put a screenshot up, or I think I already put one up at the beginning when I said that I was like 2 books over my reading goal so far. But it's somewhere, it's like it's either 60, 62, or 65, but I definitely think I will because I'm already ahead of schedule and I have faith in myself. The very last question is any new goals for the rest of the year, and I definitely would like to read outside more. The only thing is it's so hot right now in Texas. It's like over 100 degrees, so I don't want to sit outside, but definitely like September, October, November, December, I want to read outside more. I need to read some more fantasy. I've been dying to read more fantasy. After I finished Sarah J Maas's universe, I like kind of dropped off on the fantasy because I'm honestly scared to read fantasy and not like it that much. But I definitely want to read more of that. So, like I said, I want to read the Shatter Me series. And so we'll see if I like that. That was all of the questions. I'm going to copy and paste them all down below in the description. So if you want to answer them yourselves, then you can go down there and look at them, make it all easy for y'all. I really hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to comment some of your answers to some of these questions, or if you agree with mine or even disagree, just be nice about it, but let me know it down in the comments. I would love to hear y'all's thoughts. So I love you guys so much. Make sure to like and subscribe if you have not already, and I will see you guys in the next video.